Let's see. Right. So to touch on format again, this is more important for the two candidates. Generally speaking, I will somewhat randomly start with one of the two candidates, which will go first, and then the other one will go first for the next question. So essentially, we will do alternating starts, if that sounds acceptable to both candidates. Okay. Heidi, is it live on Facebook right now? The top left seems to give me the impression it is, but I'll go with your expertise on this. Oh, that's the backup. Okay. Let me know when it's connected and
it looks like it's going on my end. I'm just on the Society of Graduate Students Facebook page, and it looks like it's going.
Okay. 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 Well, if the recording is going as a backup for YouTube, and Nick, you're also experiencing that it does seem live on Facebook. Oh, Heidi has confirmed that it's working. Excellent. So yeah, without further ado and without further delay, we can get started. Zoom kept telling it was timing out. Oh, if I see Kevin Moore has his cam on, and oh, there's Waliu. Perfect. So if you both have your cam on, I think it'll be easier for us to see you both when answering questions. So I would ask that the participants who are in attendance try to refrain from keeping their video or their microphones on, just so that we can hear and both see the candidates clearly. When you are all answering questions that I pose to you, I will also mute and turn the cam off so that you have the floor uninterrupted. Excellent. So if you don't mind, I'd like to actually open this debate with some simple introductions so that we can all get to know you both before the candidates Q&A gets into full gear. Let's see here. Oh yes, Heidi, I think turning off the screen share for now would actually be fine. As much as I love this promotional ad for the debate, I don't know if we need to stare at it the whole time. But thank you for bringing it up. Right. Okay. We're just sorry. I'll leave it to the staff to admit people as they come in. So simple question. Could you take the time to introduce yourselves? What programs are you in? How long have you been here at Western? What is your history with SOGS, if any? Whatever you think is pertinent to introduce yourselves. You're also welcome to fill us in on generally your platform and ideas in this time. I'm essentially just letting it be a free and open introduction to our members. Could I get one of you to call like a heads or tails, just so I can determine who goes first for this?
Sure, I'll do tails.
Excellent. I like that. All right. So Kevin, you'll begin. And then Waliu, you will go second. And then when the next question rolls around, we'll alternate. So Waliu will go first and then Kevin. Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Excellent. By all means, the floor is yours, Kevin.
All right, well, welcome everyone on this snowy Monday. I'm Kevin, as you know. I'm a third-year PhD student in the Department of Medical Biophysics. I did my undergrad at U Ottawa, and I joined here at Western in September of 2020, so middle of the pandemic. A few months into my degree, I started getting involved with SOGS. So I started actually getting hired on. One of the few positions at the organization where you get hired was the peer advisor position. So I was the peer advisor for academic matters. Essentially what that means is I was the front contact for students who were experiencing some sort of academic need. So it could be things like issues with their supervisor or issues with funding. So that's when I started to begin to understand both the opinions of the students, but also exactly how the university works in dealing with these. So things like the appeals office, the financial aid office. And then after 1 year as peer advisor, I was elected to the vice president academic where I currently sit. This essentially means I'm doing all things academic and all things liaising with the university administration, sitting on multiple Senate subcommittees, doing things like adjudicating awards, meeting with Western administration, and I'm also second in command to the current president, Danica, filling in when she couldn't be around or otherwise just being the go-to. In terms of my platform running for president, if any of you have seen my platform, my campaign pillars are derived from who I am. So I consider myself an ally, I consider myself an advocate, and I consider myself an accomplice. I hope that I'll get the opportunity to go deeper in those campaign pillars later tonight, but for now, I'll leave it at that and welcome my opponent.
Thanks, Kevin. Waliu, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Waliu Alaka. I'm a second-year biology PhD student. I had my bachelor's in Nigeria. I did my master's in Germany, and I moved here December 2021. I started my PhD 2022 January. On what I've done so far, 3 months down into my program, the Bayfield All issue happened, and I spoke to PSAC to provide a platform where I could help grad students speak to Western, basically. Although there were so many issues, Western said this can only be done by the Graduate Students Association, but I persisted. I told them I'm a graduate student and I can also speak on behalf of other graduate students. I was able to get Western to overturn this illegal eviction. I also got Western to pay a compensation of $3,000 to all the members that had left the housing. I also got Western to agree to move all graduate students that intended to change accommodation to other on-campus housing and to also give them priorities and also provide moving and vehicles for them. After that, I got into advocating for housing where I spoke to board members, and this came out as a resolution on the board that Western was going to fund a survey. June last year, I was elected to the position of Racial Equity Chair, where I had the opportunity to sit on the EDI committee along with the Vice President, Equity, Diversity and Inclusion, Dr. Opioloya, where we sent out a survey, which I'm sure most of you have gotten. I Also did a couple of other things as regard financing, where I've been sending various emails. I've met the Associate Vice Provost in School of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies a couple of times, pointing out the lack of support from her. And she said a couple of things were not brought to her notice, that she had to read them online, among various other things. So to my campaign is based on graduate student challenges. I'm sure if you look at everything I've said in my campaign, these are the challenges we're all facing. A major one is finances, and also to ensure that all unions on campus are working together for graduate students. I've also pointed out that I'm going to support PSSC 610, particularly for the fact that they are going into bargaining this year. And I think it's important that we ensure our members are properly compensated and they're also getting all the necessary benefits, which is also why I currently sit as part of the committee on the GSA GRA unionization drive. I'll get into more details of every other thing as questions goes on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Waliu. I think that was both said by both candidates. Thank you both for the introductions. I'm going to get into, I think, one of the big issues that's on a lot of the minds of graduate students, and I think it's a big issue too, because it's in both of your platforms as well. So I think this is a great place to start for both of you. Both of you have mentioned in your platforms that you're looking to increase graduate student funding packages. Now, this is obviously a big issue for many students, but could you both elaborate on how much of an increase are you looking for? And what kind of strategies are you hoping to use to achieve this? Waliu, I said you would be starting this one first. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Michael. I believe when it comes to financial package, it affects all of us on campus, irrespective of whether you're a domestic, international, or master's or PhD student. So I recently met with the Associate Vice Provost, School of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies, and I made it very clear that what we want is a livable wage. It would be unfair and it would be shooting ourselves on the leg if I peg it at a particular price and then inflation and the housing crisis keeps going up. So to make it easy, I've pegged it that we should get a livable wage, and this should be reviewed every year. I've also sent numerous emails to the Vice President Academic, who is also the Provost, pointing out that other universities across the world and in places where I schooled in Germany pay graduate students for research. This, unfortunately, is not done to all departments at Western. I'm fortunate I'm in biology, we get paid this in summer, but that doesn't mean we should not get paid this in fall and winter, as we don't only conduct research in summer, we do it all year round, leaving out our Saturdays and Sundays to come on campus and to always do this research, which the university actually lives on and prides itself on. So I would keep on pointing out this, I would keep on stating this, we should be paid for research. I'm going to support PSAC when it comes to bargaining this year, which would increase the funding for TAs. I'm going to keep supporting the unionization drive for GSS, GRA, which is what the university takes advantage of. We're getting more undergraduate students. University is now employing more faculty. So they always have to just go back to the cheap labor they have, which is we graduate students. And I think it's just fair that for every contract we get, we provide our students, our members, a platform to negotiate properly, to be properly compensated, and to also get benefits, to ensure that their work is not just, there's no exploitation, basically. And we just have to do this strongly, not alone as SOGS, but with SOGS and its membership, and also PSAC 610, who is a sister union on campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Waliu. Just as a reminder, as well as to inform all of our membership as well, each candidate will have 2 minutes each to answer the question posed, and then each candidate will have 1 minute to respond and rebuttal. By all means, Kevin, the floor is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. So just recently, my team was able to secure standing monthly or even biweekly meetings with the provost and vice president academic at the university, who also happens to be the chief budget officer. So most of our advocacy work will go towards her and advocating for students. But essentially, yes, we need to raise the minimum funding for all students up to a livable wage. And we also need yearly increases. Oh, I see that. Thanks, Nick. We also need yearly increases matched with OPI, that's the Ontario Price Index, to match inflation. So I think this past year it was as high as 7%. Environmental scans need to be done every 3 years. And the reason for that is because Western operates on a 3-year budget cycle. So they can only do major revisions to their budget every 3 years. So every 3rd year, a high level environment scan of the housing market, of the current inflation can be done and find the proper minimum funding for students. I should also note that multiple students on this campus don't have any fundings. I'm looking at 1-year course-based masters. So for those students who don't receive funding packages, we're looking to raise emergency funding opportunities. Recently, you might have seen that we were able to secure $500,000 for emergency needs-based situations, such as food bank or childcare subsidies, things like that. So being able to look at both the short-term and the long-term, short-term being financial bursaries and needs-based scholarship, whereas long-term being those big goals we have with the Ontario Price Index increase and raising the minimum funding packages.
Thank you, Kevin. Yes, as Nick said, he will raise his hand when 15 seconds are left and will auto mute if you go over. We are now entering the rebuttal period. Candidates will each have 2 minutes to respond to each other. Waliu, would you like to begin the rebuttal?
Yeah, well, I think I like what Kevin has also said, but I would like to point out that while the $500,000 or 500,000 has been a very good step, I think it's in the wrong direction from the university. And I say this because we all understand what emergency fund means. It means that things are going fine, and then when things don't go fine, that is when you tap into your emergency fund. As we all know, we're in crisis. We're in constant crisis. I've had emails during this campaign period of people saying they have been applying for SOGS benefit and they've never gotten it. I've had people say they cannot afford groceries and all. And I think this all dissent is coming because of lack of transparency, because most people don't even know why they don't get these things. So I believe our focus should be on getting the university to do a policy to ensure that we all get a livable wage across, and then we can talk more about emergency funding. Nick, I see you. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, your rebuttal.
Yeah, I totally understand the long-term concerns, and that is absolutely a priority of ours. We've let the provost know that the $500,000 is a good step, but it's just the beginning, and we really, really need to address this because we are in a crisis. But we're also not, we can't ignore the students that are currently here and will no longer be here to see the other side of this funding war that we're fighting. So in a few months' time, when we do get the minimum funding packages raised, that'll be great, but we need to help students now. There's students that are struggling now, and students that we hope will be able to benefit from the emergency funding that we were able to secure now. That's it for me.
Thank you both so much. I'm going to pull from one of the Q&A questions that we have received. What is the, sorry, this is directed to Waliu first. What's the most important issues facing graduate students with disabilities, and how do you plan to address these?
Yeah, I think that is a wonderful question. As we all know, I don't want to speak on behalf of all people facing disabilities. So I would first, most importantly, I think it's best to hear from them. And as a representative, I would rather listen than just make assumptions. Aside from that, personally, I've seen issues with accessibility and chance, which PSAC 610 has brought up to the university during most of our LMC meetings. We've seen lack of inclusivity in a couple of areas, which we've been continuously discussing as PSAC, although this is limited to our 2,000 members, but we hope when those changes are made, they get to all our members, all the 6,000 plus SOGS membership. But aside from that, I would not want to make statements on things that don't personally affect me. I believe in listening to people. So I would rather listen to everybody, irrespective of where they are, and most importantly, people with access, people in need of accessibility. I would ask them what they want, how they want to be served, and yes, I would include them in the executive committee and always make sure that their voices are heard, rather than imposing what I feel they need on them. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, your response?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a weird question, because being asked what is the biggest issue with students with disabilities, it's a tough question to answer, because everyone has a unique experience. So there's no one issue. One thing I will bring up is Western is championing their accommodations, how they give all these accommodations. But what I can tell you is that they're not being properly enforced. Through my time as peer advisor, I dealt with a lot of appeals, and I actually learned that the Senate Review Board Academic, that's the SRBA, does not consider appeals within their purview, or does not consider accessibility issues or lack of accommodations within their purview for appeals, which means if you are appealing something on the grounds of not receiving an accommodation, you do not get to appeal that to the Senate Review Board Academic, which I think is just a gross injustice for students with disabilities, and one that I've already begun talking with SGPS on how to bring it to the Senate Review Board Academic. But other things that I just want to talk about is we still have some way to go with our AODA compliance, both at Western and with SOGS. I'm learning every single day. So recently we've been using American Sign Language translators for us. So we are making strides, but there's still a long way to go with the AOD compliance part.
Thank you, Kevin. Waliu, would you wish to offer a rebuttal?
Yes. So one major challenge that that I've had to personally be engaged in is issue of silent witness. We have members of equity deserving group who cannot express themselves during academic progression. We know Western recognizes this, and a particular member was almost thrown out of the program because the person could not meet progression timeline. I reached out to Kevin here, with Yusuf and other people in SOGS, and I met with SGPS. I spoke to them about this. They said the silent witness is a policy, but then we found out it is not a policy. And I have continued to champion this. I have said student members should be given the opportunity to have somebody to represent them when they want to. And I would keep saying this to the Western management. I met Linda Miller about a couple of weeks ago, and I pointed it out to her as clear as possible. If I don't have the confidence to speak in front of you, does that mean I would get thrown out? Why can't I get somebody who is better at articulating issues to stand there and speak on my behalf to actually get my points passed across? Thank you.
Thank you, Waliu. And Kevin, your final rebuttal on this topic?
Yes, please. So as the peer advisor, I was this silent support person for a lot of students. So what a silent support person does is they cannot speak for the student during the appeals process, but they're there to take notes and to be a support person. I should clarify that the silent support person can speak for the student in cases where accessibility issues are needed. So if there's some sort of communication barrier, then the SGPS has a policy to allow a support person to speak for the student. Otherwise, it is expected that the student will speak for themselves. And the appeals process through SGPS is not meant to be like a court of law, and they're not being interrogated. It's just them telling their stories that the SGPS has all the information, and the silent support person there is there to keep SGPS accountable to listening and to take notes.
Thank you both. If you don't mind, I'd like to ask a pre-prepared question, because again, this is an issue that came up in both of your election platforms, so I think it's relevant to both of you. Both of you mentioned the issues when it comes to graduate housing for the membership. what will you do as SOGS president to help alleviate the issue of graduate student housing? Kevin, would you like to start us off?
Absolutely. So this is again, a two-pronged approach. So earlier I was talking about emergency relief versus long-term relief. So I'll start with the long-term relief because it's a bit simpler. So long-term, we need more housing specifically for graduate students. And we've talked with Chris at the the Department of Western Housing, and they're definitely have some news to share next week about buildings going up for graduate students. So that's long-term, but that's not going to help the students who are struggling with housing now. So what we need and what we'll be advocating for is guaranteed emergency housing for students who are coming to London and need a place to live, because there are scams out there which result in people getting here and not having housing. So they need some sort of guaranteed place to live. Certain things like Bayfield that will have empty units or other units that are really important that students can use, or if the hotel needs to pay for hotels, or sorry, if Western needs to pay for hotels for these students to live in at least, but so they have that accommodation when they first get here. And then finally, we just heard through Western that through our advocacy efforts, we were able to get summer housing guaranteed for incoming students. Since there are less undergraduate students on campus, they have somewhere to go during those summer months when a lot of students start in May. I'll leave it at that for now.
Thank you. Waliu, your response to this question as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is a very big challenge that has impacted me personally. So during my Bayfield advocacy, I remember Chris Allen, who is the AVP housing, sharing the Western building plan to myself and the team I met him with. So we agreed that we're going to fast track it. We asked for a specific allotted amount of housing for graduate students, which they couldn't promise, but they said they were going to work on. Also in the meeting, I proposed that Western just speaks to one of these landlords in one of these condos to just pay it out and then get grad students to actually rent it. This, I feel, is a very easy way to solve this continuous problem. And Trisha Lane said they're working on it, he understands what it is, and that they're still currently speaking and liaising with a couple of landlords and also Western leadership to see what they can do on housing. I particularly pointed out the challenges international students like myself have. And on that, I thought of a more simpler approach where we really don't need Western's help. And this is the pair of body program, where if elected, I'm going to pair current students with students that have been admitted. So they start speaking to one another. And before you arrive as an international student, you are told what to do. You are getting all the information necessary. Your body could decide to accommodate you or help you get a place to stay when you arrive. That way you are exempted from scams. You don't have to go through the challenges of providing references and whatnot to get a place to stay, because your body or pair guy who is going to be here or lady or person who is going to be here will be there to actually help you do all this before you actually arrive. Thank you, Nick. I say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Waliu. Kevin, your rebuttal.
Just a very small rebuttal, but I just want to make sure that we use caution when we're talking about off-campus housing, because our housing survey that we put out last fall indicated that the most important things for graduate students were that the off-campus housing was safe, it was close to the university, so proximity was a huge thing, and also accessibility. So as long as we can assure that the off-campus housing that we use is affordable, safe, and accessible.
Thank you. Waliu, any rebuttal or closing
remarks? Yes. So I'm just going to draw this from personal experience. I remember when I reached out to off-campus housing, I was told if I can't get a house in London, I should get outside London. And so I'm surprised at what Kevin is saying, because my personal experience has not been the best, to be very fair. And I shared the email with a couple of colleagues around seeing, and most people were shocked. I was told by the off-campus housing team, if you don't get a place in London, just look for a place outside London. And I think most students or most grad students stay within London. And I think it's just fair that Western looks for a place close by. There's so many condos, so many high-rise condos around that Western can literally liaise with the landlord and ensure that it is converted to grad student housing. This is favorable for the landlord and also helps Western to help students that are actually coming in to get a place to live. Thank you.
Thank you both. I'm going to take some time just to pull from the Google Forms. We have many questions there that I'd like to pull from. This is a more SOGS administration specific question, but how do you, both of you plan to support the execution of a new SOGS strategic plan during your time as president? I know this is a generally very big issue for SOGS president, so I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. Sorry, I believe Kevin, I had started with you last time, so let's go with Waliu.
Can you come again, Michael?
Sorry, I'm more than happy to. I'm more than happy to repeat if you wish.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you plan to support the creation or execution of a SOGS strategic plan during your time as president?
Thank you very much, Michael. I feel the biggest challenge that membership have is transparency. And for me, this is big. There's nothing more important than being very transparent with your membership and providing everything they ask for. I'll give you a couple of instances. We currently have the grad club. And as a grad student, I keep asking myself why I'm paying for the grad club. And as my position as a PSAC rep, I've seen that there's a possibility that this is also going to be increased. And I know members are going to see this ahead of the AGM, but I feel members should be aware of all this. When we think of a strategic plans, I think it should be member focused. Membership should decide what they want. So rather than throwing out plans, saying this is what I want to do, saying this is how I'm going to go about it, I would rather hold a town hall, listen to what my membership have to say, listen to the direction that the membership actually want us to go. I think it's just fair sometimes that people just don't elect representatives to just do things the way the representatives see fit. And that is the point of calling us representatives. And I use this term because we are representing members, in this case, 6,000 plus membership. And I think it's just fair to listen to them, plan based on their needs, and see how to grow from there. I also understand Western has its own plan for internationalization. And I think one of the things I would do if elected is to hold Western accountable. That is what membership wants. SOGS is a union, and I think it's just fair that we do the union job by being the voice of members to the executive and reporting back to the executive. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. Kevin, your response?
Yeah, of course. So I'm currently sitting on the strategic plan committee, and as president, I will continue to sit on the strategic plan committee. Right now, we're still in the consultation phase, but we're looking exactly what we want to see out of SOGS for the next 5 years. One thing that's very, very important early on in our strategic plan committee is the ONCA compliance. That's the Ontario Nonprofit Corporations Act. If we are not ONCA compliant by March of 2024, we will cease to exist. So we need things like a board of governors, we need policy revisions ahead of that March 2024 guideline. So we have a few pillars as the strategic plan committee. We're looking at the quality of life, or quality of grad life, as we like to call it. So that is things like the grad club, making sure that it is a place for graduate students to come and interact. We're looking for accountability for our student leaders, and accountability on Western to provide graduate students with the support that they need. Accessibility, AODA compliance, I already alluded to earlier, but making sure that everything that we have is AODA compliant over the next few years. But overall, we, as SOGS, we lack a specific vision for what SOGS is. So we're still kind of working out exactly what it will look like, but we had our strategic plan survey, which went out a few months ago, and we had our town hall, and we'll soon be looking for our SOGS leaders to give their input on the strategic plan.
Thanks, Kevin. Waliu, any rebuttal?
Yeah, just to add to it. So for me, in a couple of years' time, I want SOGS to be an organization that actually provides good leadership for students, that provide absolute support for students, irrespective of what the challenge is. SOGS should also be a place where graduate students can relax, feel comfortable, network, speak to one another, and get opportunities even outside Western. And most importantly, I also hope that SOGS will become a union that actually advocates for its members, that speaks for his members, and that speaks to his members. And most importantly, SOGS would be an accountable organization with clear communication to his members. Thank you.
Kevin, final rebuttal and closing remark?
Yeah, I have to say, I really do believe that SOGS is all of those things. I think SOGS is a safe space. I think it is an accessible space. I think it's a place where graduate students meet. I think we hold a lot of events that graduate students really resonate with. I hear all the time about students using our services and really finding that they're helpful. I know so many people who have met through SOGS and have built relationships through SOGS. We really want to keep SOGS that space. And in terms of the advocacy, I think recent successes through the society kind of speak for themselves. I think we're doing good. We just need to continue to create positive change and continue being the safe, equitable space that we are.
All right, thank you. This is a question that was raised both in the Google Forms and on our Q&A. So I'd like to take some time to ask this. This is also brought up in many of the responses from both of you. Grad Club. Grad Club's been offering, a space for grad students to socialize for many years. There's been lots of discussions by people about strategies for revitalizing the space, changes to the space. As SOGS president, how are you prepared to oversee the Grad Club, possible renovations, staff, and working with Western to make it a successful and welcoming space for graduate students? Kevin, would you like to begin with this?
Absolutely. And 2 minutes is going to be quick because I have a lot to say about the Grad Club. Things like accessibility, renovations, that's all important. I think a lot of it starts with pay equity for our staff, making sure that our staff have proper training and making sure that they get all the benefits that they need, especially since a lot of students are employed through the Grad Club. We really need Western's help with renovations. That's going to be about probably a $1.5 million project to renovate the kitchen and the Grad Club to make it just more efficient and a better experience. But it also just needs general revitalizing, a facelift, if you will, in certain areas. It's always a distinction that we need to make between if Grad Club is a business or if it is a service. So being a service that we provide for our students, because all of our students pay the Grad Club levy, it's about making sure that they get quality product, quality service. We own and operate the Grad Club, so we're responsible for making sure it is all of these things. It's supported by UOFA, and so we know that the faculty care about it. I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to get into too many specifics. But yeah, it's all about quality and making sure that all of our staff are properly supported.
Excellent. Thank you. Waliu, your response?
Yeah, thank you, Michael. First, for me, well, yes, I agree that the members need some training, the staffs need some training and all. For me, I think as members of Grad Club, as paying members of Grad Club, I think it's only fair that we get things at the Grad Club at a discounted price. While I'm a paying member, if somebody from outside come, we get to buy a cup of beer at the same price. And so how exactly am I distinct or am I recognized as a paying member of the grad club? For me, if I take over, I think one of the ways I would change the grad club is ensure that members are getting things at a discount. I also know the prices are going to increase very soon. Aside from that, I think the food needs to be inclusive. I've spoken to so many Asians, Africans, and various people that are not North Americans, and the first complaint we hear from them is, oh, I don't like the food. Oh, the food is not inclusive. Oh, it's just same thing. And I understand. Being an international student myself, I rarely eat at the grad club because I do not see what I want there. So I think changing these, giving sandwiches, things that are quite regular, cheap ones where you can buy a full breakfast for $5, I think is going to be a lot more inclusive and get more of our members to actually patronize the grad club. During a recent conversation with the vice provost, with the vice president academic, who is also the provost, when we informed her about the challenges we had, she emphatically said, oh, the grad club is filled with professors. And we told her it's because most grad students cannot afford it. And honestly, that is our reality. So if I pay a levy for the grad club and I still cannot afford it, then why exactly am I paying the levy? So I just feel we need to think about our students, our members that are actually paying more, and find a way to actually provide a quality service for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, your rebuttal?
Yeah, absolutely. We did the strategic plan survey, and one of the biggest things that our members responded with was they appreciated that the grad club was affordable, because it's actually much more affordable than most restaurants that you'd find downtown. And I disagree that they don't have options. The grad club has a lot of options. They have halal options, they have vegan options for everything, and there's all sorts of things that you can get from the grad club. I'm always at the grad club trying new things, and I still haven't gotten through their menu. But in terms of lowering prices, I mean, grad club is in a serious deficit, and we need to be able to support the staff, and we need to be able to go through the grad club committee, the grad club manager when we're talking business decisions. So there's a lot of moving parts with the grad club, but I really do think it has a lot of potential to improve even from where it is now.
Sorry, Waliu, go ahead. Your rebuttal.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Michael. So first, I'd like to point out that Alal is basically pointing out that the food is good enough for Muslims like myself to eat. So this does not mean that the food is what Asians, Africans, and people from other places would appreciate. Thank you for the information, for telling us that the grad club is currently in deficit. This is something I did not know. So with this new information, I think it's just better. I'm going to, if I have access to the finances, we're going to have to look into remodeling the grad club to be a place that would actually make profits and still provide quality and affordable food for graduate students. I don't think the grad club should be run to make profits from grad students. Most of us, or some of us, earn as low as $9,350 a year. And I'm sure our counterparts, our professors and other faculty members would agree that they are going to be willing to actually pay a higher price than what grad students would pay. I know this because I've spoken to UEFA presidents. I've had the opportunity to speak to him a couple of times. And I've also had this dialogue with a couple of faculty where they all agree that, oh yeah, it's going to be absolutely fair if grad students are made to pay a lower price for things at the grad club than they would pay, because they earn way, way more than us. And they just think it is what is fair. And they have not said anything because this has never been proposed to them. Thank you.
Thank you all for your responses. One of the other sort of main questions that I wanted to ask was more directed at SOG's relationship with Western University. How would you like to, sorry, let me phrase this more properly. How are you planning on maintaining a good working relationship with Western and SGPS and other Western affiliated bodies going forward? This could include, obviously, official Western institutions and practices like SGPS and the university just in general, but it can also include other associated organizations like PSAC 610. How do you want SOGS to cooperate with these organizations going forward? And I believe I had started with Kevin last time. So Waliu, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, well, I don't know if 2 minutes is going to be enough, but yeah, I'm going to try my best. So first, SGPS is, we are all students of the School of Graduate Studies. And even though I've been advocating, I still maintain a very good relationship with Linda Miller. She's awesome. She told me she's having a grandbaby soon, and she's very excited to carry her grandchild. So when it comes to relationship with SGPS, we would have a relationship with SGPS. We don't have a choice. We're all members of the School of Graduate Studies. But at the same time, I think it is very important that we understand that as graduate students, we are the backbone of the university. And when we need to take a stand, we have to take a stand. And we need to let SGPS know that we are taking a stand, particularly when it comes to our financing and providing adequate support for grad students. To PSAC 610, I think it's important where we have a good relationship with PSAC 610. I currently sit at the racial equity chair, and I know the relationship with SOGS has not been the best. There's been a cease and desist from SOGS to PSAC 610, which is further damaging the current relationship that should be there. And personally, I before I became an executive, I sat with the SOGS executive to discuss challenges that grad students face and ways that this could be improved. One of them was speaking about the health and dental and a couple of other things. So personally, I would keep supporting PSAC 610. I already do that. I sit as a chair. I currently sit in the organization drive. I'm trying to unionize GSA, GRA, so that our members will get funding, will get support, will get benefits. And I would keep doing that in any capacity, whether I am elected or not. This is something that is just me. I supported PSAC 610 and grad students, even when I was just a grad student. Without being in an elected position, I fought and advocated for the Bayfield Hall and got results. And this is something I've been doing and I'll keep doing. And I'll keep also communicating with the provost. I've been doing it. She has been acknowledging. I've had the opportunity to meet her once, and I'll keep working on that. We need each other. So it's not a relationship that one person can cut off. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, your response to the question posed?
Yeah, so SOGS does not have a collective bargaining agreement to meet with Western administration. So we try and keep things collegial so that they continue to work with us. The student leaders before us, as well as my team, have worked really, really hard to maintain these relationships. And I think sometimes we get accused of, to quote directly, we were being in bed with Western University, which I think is just misogynistic and gross. But we always try to keep things professional with the university. And as we continue meeting, we are hard on them, but we're also very collegial, and we keep things confidential when we need to. In terms of our relationship with PSAC 610, we think it is very important. We did, in fact, issue a unofficial cease and desist due to some defamatory comments that were being thrown around about our organization that were misleading and not true. So the reason we did that is because we don't want our students getting conflicting information. We don't want to devalue the experience of our students, feeling that they couldn't go to SOGS or couldn't go to PSAC 610. So we've offered third-party mediation because we want to continue to work with PSAC 610 moving forward. Relationships are very, very important to me, and making sure that we're professional and not attacking each other in public spaces, because I want our students to feel like they can come to SOGS, they can come to PSAC 610, and that both services are valid for them.
Thanks, Kevin. Waliu, your rebuttal, please.
Yeah, so I also wanted to point out that bargaining for PSAC is this year, and we have seen the rally, which I was also part of the organizers. Fortunately, we couldn't get SOGS to send out an email, and we all know that the university always find a way to ensure that PSAC email goes to spam. Fortunately, I was able to challenge that with the Director of Administrations at the SGPS and the Director of Administrations in the IT department. And this has been resolved. PSAC emails now get to members. but we know during bargaining, we know what the university can do. And I think it's important to state it for a fact, and I'm stating it here today. If elected, every PSAC email will go out from SOGS. This is to show absolute support for all our members who are also PSAC members, that we would support them, we would ensure they get good bargaining and fair compensation for the work that they do, and also good benefits. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kevin, any closing remarks and final rebuttal?
Yeah, so regarding this famous email that wasn't sent, first of all, we had been sending out emails on PSAC's behalf going forward, and we also had shared news about this rally on our social media, so it's not like we didn't support it. We got a request for a mass email at about 5 p.m. on a Friday that had to go out on a Monday. Our communications manager was in the emergency room on the Monday. As execs, we don't have unilateral control over the mass email system, plus we're all full-time graduate students, so the email couldn't go out on the Monday. We don't feel that that should have warranted mass defamatory language against our organization. Since then, we've been trying to work with PSAC through third-party mediation because we don't want defamatory statements being thrown around on issues that were out of our control.
Thank you both. Thank you, Kevin, for the closing rebuttal and comment. This is a line that I'd seen on both your campaign platforms with perhaps slightly different wording, where you had both said on your platform that you aim to, quote, hold Western's leadership accountable or hold Western accountable in some way. This is a shared feature of both your platforms. What do you mean by this, and what are you actually going to prioritize in holding Western accountable? Kevin, would you like to start us off?
Absolutely. So this all comes back to funding in a sense. So Western advertises itself as an equitable, safe university for all students to come to work. And they're also rolling out their strategic plan in which they aim to increase enrollment up to 50,000 students, most of those being international students. We feel they haven't been forthcoming with the housing situation or living situation in London. So we really need them to be forthcoming on that, and also raise funding packages so that they can be that equitable university that they claim to be. They also have publicized commitments to AODA, and that's accessibility and gender-based sexual violence commitments, specifically last summer, that we haven't seen a lot of action on. So through our meetings, we will be constantly going back with the university, making sure that they're holding true to their own commitments and holding them accountable in that sense. So to reframe its funding packages, its multi-phased housing rollouts, a safe arrival for international students. It's a lot of just making sure that they hear the issues from our membership. And because we are the channel, the executive is the channel through which they communicate, we need to make sure that we're effectively communicating those messages and holding them accountable to staying true to them. Thanks.
So much. Waliu, your response to the question?
Yeah, thank you. First, this is something I'm already doing. We had international students that moved here during the pandemic. Western promised to refund them their hotel fees, and this has not been done till this very moment. I have been in continuous communication with the manager, Megan, from international office, and she only offered to give them a voucher that they can only spend on campus. So this is a continuous challenge. I've also spoken to, so in my meeting with Linda Miller, I pointed out the miscommunication in the offer letter. I schooled in Germany, where PhD students get as much as 3,000 euros on a 70% funding. And in my offer letter, I was told that the stipend is competitive. Competitive in what sense? So competitive for me means that it's close to 3,000 euros as much as possible. And I pointed this out to Linda, and she said, oh, competitive in sense of Ontario and I'm like, I think it's unfair if you tell me competitive and I'm coming from a place that pays as much as 3,000 euros. So I pointed it out clearly that they should state a couple of things as clear as possible. Let members know base funding is $13,000. You pay ancillary fees out of this, you pay this, and what gets into your bank account is $9,500. This way, students coming here can make an informed decision if they want to come here or they want to go to U of T that actually pays you for research. And I've made this clear to the communication team, Mark, and Linda has promised that they are going to look into this, and from September this year, this will start going out. I've also pointed out to Opio and Linda that there are issues with letter of enrollment and transcript. We have to pay for this. And this keeps being funny to me. Paying for enrollment letter and transcript is akin to paying for groceries when you go to Walmart. So these are things I'm currently speaking on, and a couple more. But yeah, due to time, I would say thank you very much.
Kevin, your rebuttal?
Yeah, so a lot of this actually is a bigger picture of our infrastructure and our public funding in Ontario. So a lot of this is a legislation issue. So as we are able to advocate to Western, we're also advocating to the provincial government to give us those competitive packages that we deserve. So we're hoping that Western leads the charge with this. We're also looking elsewhere. So we're looking, just this past weekend, we met with some student leaders at McMaster, and they're having similar issues as they're trying to communicate with the administration. So we're collaborating on a large front, holding our universities accountable and holding our provincial government accountable. That's it for me.
And yeah, Waliu, any closing remarks or rebuttal?
Yeah, thank you very much. So still on the advocacy, I also pointed out to Western that we need to be paid for research. We don't just do research in summer in biology, and other people also do research all year round, and that has to be paid for. Aside from that, you would notice that during the rally, we said other universities were also doing rallies at the same time with us. We are in constant communication. It's unfortunate, and I think it's not nice that PSAC had to hold a rally to end graduate student poverty. PSAC is bounded by a collective agreement, which is just labor inclined. Coming out to speak on behalf of all graduate students is a last line of defense that PSAC felt we had to do. And this is strictly because graduate students were coming to us because they trusted us, and they kept complaining, and we just had to show this form of solidarity to graduate students by organizing the rally, by speaking to the university, and by ensuring that they hear us loud and clear. And yeah, with the support of SOGS and the survey, we've been able to see some changes, and we hope better things.
Thank you. I actually have a question. Again, this is from our Q&A, and it touches on a topic that we've sort of been dancing around a lot with our responses. But I think it's important to many members here today and in general. What do you all intend to do to address specific concerns raised by international students as president of SOGS? And I believe, Waliu, this will be you starting.
Yeah, so I'm an international student, as you know, and this is my third continent, my second continent where I'm an international student. So I absolutely understand the challenges. As I said earlier, the first is going to be an arrival package. We give you peer support, and I plan to do this in tandem with the international office and PSAC 610, also SGPS. So before students arrive, I'm going to pair you with fellow international students here who understand what is happening. As you arrive, we ensure you get things done like SIN, your SIM card, and other things necessary to help you actually settle down. I spoke to the international office and I was told that SIN is done on campus only in September, which is not too nice because the university does not just admit people during the fall term. So we are in agreement, and they had said, oh, the society can speak with the office. And yeah, we can get somebody from the Service Canada to come on campus during the winter and the summer term. And yeah, this I plan to do to ensure international students that when they come, they have everything on campus. We speak to various telecommunication companies to come on campus so that grad students can get their SIM cards on campus, they can get their SIN done on campus, and they can get every other thing done on campus, plus a package from the international office showing maps where they need to go and a list of everything that has to be done, coupled with a pair or a body person that is also there to direct them and explain everything that is necessary. I've also spoken to SGPS and international office to provide something to help international students move during the first couple of weeks before their ID card is gotten and their transportation ticket is activated. That way, you don't have to come here and start finding where to get your transport ticket, like I experienced going to Shoppers Drug Mart, and yeah, and a couple of other things. Thank you, Nick. Thank you.
Thank you, Waliu. Kevin, your response?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a lot of getting better information for our international students. We've been recently talking with Western International along with SGPS about getting better wayfinding so that they can directly or direct students better when they arrive in Canada to what supports they have. I know IESIC within Western International is setting up a module, a website this summer that will go live that will help with coming to Canada, things like health plan with UHIP information so that all students are able to access the health plan. Events at SOGS that help connect international students with each other and getting them better information. And I should clarify that it's not just the domestic student experience versus the international experience. There aren't two experiences on campus. There are 6,600 unique experiences. So we can't be painting all international students as the same. We need to recognize that there are intersections of privilege that are happening, and we need to be able to get proper supports for students depending on very specific situations. Rolling out better information is a start, but it's all about building this more inclusive, equitable space for our international students, for all students, to be able to feel seen and feel heard and get the information that they need.
Thank you. Waliu, your rebuttal.
Yeah, thank you. So some of the challenges that international students face is pulling information out. In our last meeting with SGPS, I remember telling them we have to deal with too many websites, SOGS, registrars, departmental, PSAC, SOGS. And one of the major ways I said to the SGPS to solve this is that why don't we pull out all the information necessary to one website? And this is something I plan to do if elected, is to get all the necessary information that all grad students need before they arrive. The moment they are admitted, we send this to them and they have all the resources at the palm of their hands. That way, if they need anything, they can easily just check up online and know exactly what they need and where to get it. Plus, we would also provide the information on the same website. We would also provide arrival support for them, and we would also send them emails with every information and keep in communication with them via the body and pair program. Thank you.
Closing comments and rebuttal, Kevin?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with my opponent here. It's all about having one place to go, making wayfinding a lot easier, but this should all be streamlined in the offer letter to students. So everything that a student needs to know should be in the offer letter or hyperlinked in the offer letters so that they know where to go for what service. We don't currently have authority over Western Comms, so this is not something that we can unilaterally do in terms of changing offer letters, but I know that we've already had a lot of conversations with SGPS and the Office of the President and Provost about overhauling our the way we look at offer letters. Just today, they said when you look at something 500 times, it becomes simple, but we need to look at it with fresh eyes to see how a student receiving this offer letter for their first time is able to navigate it. And right now, I think it needs a lot of work.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for the closing rebuttal and remark. This is a question I've received a few times over the Google Forums, but also on the Q&A feature. What is the ONCA? And why is it important for the future of SOGS or Grad Club? And what's your strategy to implement or respond to it? Kevin, would you like to start us off?
Or was that ONCA, you said?
Yes, ONCA.
Yeah, so that's the Ontario Nonprofit Corporations Act. So they gave us 3 years back in October of 2021 to become compliant with this act. And it's essentially a provincial legislature that demands exactly how nonprofits coordinate and act. So there's going to be a lot that we need to do. If we're not ONCA compliant by March 2024, we will cease to exist. And it really is that serious. We will lose our nonprofit status. So one of the biggest things we need going forward is a board of governors. So this will be a governing body outside of our council, in which we have long-term appointments, 3 to 5 years. And it's not just students, it'll be students, alumni, advisors. This is something that we absolutely need to get set up within the next calendar year, because we want it for our next AGM. That's in a year's time. And then there's other smaller policy things that need to be done, but it's going to be a lot of work. We really need to, as president, we really need to coordinate with our governance and policy manager to make sure that everything we're doing is ONCA compliant within, I'd say, 1 year from today. Because this is a very, very serious issue and it's entirely internal facing. So it's something that we need to get done.
Thank you very much for the response. Waliu, your response.
Yeah, thank you. I think we can easily just tap into this resource that SOGS already has. We currently have council members and we can tell them to form a committee and start working on this immediately with a deadline of the time that we're sure they can actually get this done. While I understand that the position of the president might entail a couple of things, the president is also going to be part of this committee and would also get the speaker to be part of this committee. While we want to be ONCA compliant, I think we also want to be as transparent as possible. So getting members on board to actually ensure that we can achieve this is very important. And as it is said, where I'm from, 2 heads are better than 1. So getting more heads on ground, getting more people to actually get this done would actually help us. While someone might actually have a contact of an alumni that would want to sit on board, someone else might have a faculty that is willing to sit as part of the board of directors. I think it's just tapping into the resources we already have. While there are policies, while there are a couple of nuances that we actually have to work on, we just have to have started working on it. We know this is something that we have a deadline approaching soon. And I believe, I want to believe that the executive have actually started working on this as of now, rather than waiting for the next set of executives to actually take over before doing this, because we're a non-profit organization and we want to actually keep that status. And I think it's just best to have started this. I honestly want to believe that this has been started. So whoever comes in will just pick up from whatever has been done and then build up on it and get councillors on board, get them to work, open it to members at large, ensure that the legislation and somebody from the executive is also on board to ensure compliance and that we follow the policy to the last dot of the I. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, it's open to rebuttal.
Yeah, so we actually already have a committee put into place. That's the policy committee. And they've been constantly bringing reports to our council meeting with our governance manager. So this is very public. So I'm surprised that a graduate student wouldn't know about this because we've already made huge strides, like eliminating proxy voting, getting our auditor in place. This has all been stuff that we've been doing since October 2021 to make sure that we are ONCA compliant. They gave us 3 years for a reason, and we're on track. It's just going to take a lot of hard work over the last 1.5 years to make sure that we are compliant, but we have been doing the work and we've already made some strides. You can go and check out the minutes of our policy meeting or a policy committee meeting to see more of what we've done.
Thank you. And Waliu, your final rebuttal.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Kevin, for that information. Unfortunately, I'd not seen it. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I'm sure a couple of other people also here have not seen it. Yeah, but I'm still just going to say the same thing. We just need to keep working on it. We need to ensure that we're compliant way before the deadline so that we're very certain that we're not going to lose our non-profit status. I sit on the as a chair at PSAC, and we're also a non-profit organization. We recently had our accounts audited, and this is something we've been doing to ensure that we maintain that status. So I am surprised to hear this from the SOGS executive that it has not been met yet, but I plan to work on this, be as transparent as possible, ensure that all membership are carried along, and this is properly achieved way ahead of time. Thank you.
Thank you. This is again a question pulled from, let me just open up again. Sorry, this is a question posed from our Q&A section as well. Excuse me. how is SOGS moving forward as president? How would you like to see SOGS more involve students with the organization and their membership? Is there anything that you would want to see done to make SOGS more opening or welcome or accessible for students with regards to any issues regarding health or financial bursaries or financial aid assistance? Again, this will be open to Waliu for opening comment.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to start with a recent experience I had, which affected me also as a racialized person. During the last town hall, a Black student from Congo who lives in South Africa tried bringing up the challenges that international students have during the last SOGS strategic town hall, and he was silenced. And I felt this was very unfortunate. He was silenced. He was told that what he was discussing was not part of the strategic plan. And I think while it might not be part of your strategic plan, holding a town hall is to actually listen to your membership. And irrespective of what your membership actually brings up, I think it's just fair that we listen. Unfortunately, nobody stopped what was happening until after the member actually left angrily. I reached out to him, I apologized, and I also reached out to, I think, the VP Student Service to inform her that I believe SOGS executive should actually send him an apology also. And so for me, I'm going to look more into diversity. I understand that we're different people from different parts of the world. While we keep encouraging with respect for one another, I understand that sometimes when we complain passionately. And for me, this is the definition of diversity, your ability to accommodate people irrespective of how they come. Most importantly for me is to get the message in what they say, educate them on how they can better express themselves, but still go home with the message and improve on it to actually ensure that I can better advocate for them. Also, I think holding town halls regularly would be fair. Sending packages like council package to all membership would also be fair sometimes. Let them know either twice a year on what is happening, and also to be absolutely transparent with everything that is happening. Thank you.
Kevin, your response?
Yeah, absolutely. So the question being how to engage graduate students more effectively. So it's a lot about communication. It's about bringing more students and making more opportunities. So we're looking to expand both our office staff and grad club staff. So this is a great opportunity to bring in students for part-time work, both in administrative and communication strategies. We also want better stipends for our volunteers. So people who volunteer their time, whether it be through committees or chairing a committee or in commissions, getting better opportunities for them and better compensation for them will be great in being able to give back to our community while also giving them those opportunities to engage. In terms of better reach out, during orientation week, we go around to different departments and we're reaching people that way. We'd like to just make sure that students know that SOGS is the equitable space that it can be. Right now, council is open to all graduate students, and we'd like to see more engagement there. You don't have to be a counselor. You have every right to join in council and engage in the conversation. And we're looking at more events for students from all backgrounds. So events tailored to international students. There's one happening next week that you can look into, but also just listening to our members and hearing what they want and being able to put that into place.
Thank you so much. Waliu, your response?
Yeah, thank you. So one thing I feel can be done is also a drop-in session, maybe once a month. So we should have an opportunity to, I know they are the office hours, but I think a Zoom drop-in session would be great where we have members just drop in, ask whatever they want, get more information, get feedback, and know what is happening with SOGS and the way SOGS is being run. Also, the health and dental plan has been something I've continuously engaged SOGS on. We've had members complain. I moved here from a country where one card does everything. Health, dental, everything is done by just one of your insurance card. But here it is quite different. And I remember doing my last meeting with SOGS, the staff said people had to come in. And I feel this should not be done. We should get a note for everything that members come in to complain about, start working on them to ensure they don't waste man hours to actually come to the office to actually ask questions they should have at the tip of their fingers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kevin, your rebuttal?
Sure. So in terms of drop-in sessions, every VP, including the president, has drop-in hours that are publicly available on our site. So check those out. If you want to talk to someone in particular, there are hours where you can see the hours where the VPs are actually in office. We also have something called graduate peer support for students to drop into our office to talk with other students about their issues and also talk with staff. And our staff are always there during regular open office hours. And we've had a lot of students talk about great experiences with our staff where they can get more information. In terms of the health plan stuff, you don't have to come in for every claim. You can submit claims online. I've done it before. And then in terms of if you have questions, we have channels open, emails open in which you can reach out and ask questions if you can't physically come into the office.
Thank you so much. Waliu, closing. Oh, sorry. I'm getting a little lost in the sauce here. I actually wanted to move on to expand on that question a little bit. That last question was more focused on membership. I'd like to take some time to focus in on our SOGS staff team, as well as SOGS counselors. How, as president, do you see your relationship with SOGS staff and counselors, and how would you want to facilitate or perhaps change the relationship between a president and these two in the future? By all means, Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, so these are two very different answers, or at least two very different groups of people that we interact with. So our staff are in all day during office hours, so that's 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday to Thursday, and we work very, very closely with them. And the reason that the staff are so valuable to us is because they have that historical knowledge of how the society operates. They know so much of the back end stuff and of the back end work that really helps onboarding incoming executives, because as a graduate student coming into an executive position, there's a lot to learn. So the staff are there. They're also great. We're also working with them right now to try and get them pay equity and better benefits through revisions of the personnel policy that we're working on right now. We don't have a broader office like the PSAC head office, so we're all self-governed. I'll switch to counselors now so I have enough time. In terms of counselors, it's a very different relationship because we only actually hold council meetings once a month as opposed to seeing the staff every single day. So we're trying to make sure that we're always open to hearing from counselors when there isn't a council meeting through our emails, and also communicating all motions in our council package 2 weeks ahead of time so that they have time to talk through it. And then during council meetings, we follow Robert's rules just to make sure that we can make sure everyone's voice is heard. We build speakers lists. We allow people to voice their opinions, and we're also encouraging councils to go back to their GSAs in their own departments to talk through what's happening in SOGS so that we get to hear from the membership. The way that the society is organized, it's almost like an inverted triangle with membership at the top, then council, then the executives. So it's the membership that makes all the decisions, but we are the channel through which we can get things done. So that's our very specific relationship with counselors. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Waliu, your response to the question?
Yeah, so a student organization needs to be very dynamic. So, and by dynamic, I mean it has to actually respond to students' needs. Staff are employee of the organization, and yeah, they are the engine that actually ensure that the organization keeps running. At the same time, we understand that counselors are students or elected members of various departments that are there to represent the interests of students in their department. Recently, I think the last council meeting, we had a staff championing the reduction of of council members. For cases like this, I think it is not right for a staff to champion how the student should actually decide what they want to do. While they are there as a staff, I think the executives are elected by the students to actually make decisions that are approved by the council on behalf of the students. So when we start having staff meddle and things like this, it starts to create a friction between staff and councillors. And this has been seen during the last council meeting where a couple of councillors are not happy. This has been discussed. This has filtered out to our membership. To ensure that this whole thing does not delve into something else, I would ensure that staff would remain in their supporting role to ensure that the organization keeps running as it should run. While the councillors, being the representative of students from various departments, take the role of deciding how the organization would go based on the feedback they get from students in their department. That way, we ensure that there's a smooth running of the organization by getting information from students and doing what students want and getting support from staff to ensure that our members are properly advocated and supported. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Your rebuttal. Oh, sorry, Kevin, you're
Sorry, I'm muted.
It's all right.
Noise, sorry. Staff are not meddling in the affairs of council. We hired on a governance manager to be able to create these presentations because at 10 hours a week, when we're trying to keep an organization running, we need staff to help. But I want to remind everyone that our staff chose these roles to support our membership, and that's what they're doing. They're putting together amazing presentations on why we should consider both sides of everything. And when we have a governance and policy manager, what we ask them to do is to report on governance and policy and be able to elaborate on the ins and outs. So that's why we have such amazing staff who do research for us, who put together presentations, who are able to speak to motions with a certain level of expertise. It's really, really valuable to us. So they're not machines, they're people, and they are very, very smart and very good at what they do.
Thank you. Waliu, final rebuttal and closing comment.
Yeah, thank you. So I just wanted to start by correcting Kevin. When I say engine, I'm just speaking on how important they are to the organization. We all know a car is useless without its engine. That is why I said the staff are the engine of SOGS. That is how important and how valuable they are. But aside from that, I believe councillors and the executive should decide what happens based on what students actually want. As staff, they do not experience what students are going through. No staff here can say they've had my experience as an international student moving here. No staff has had experience of other students. Yes, I'm sure there were one students, they've had their own experiences, but that is unique to them. And as it stands now, new students and current students are also having their own unique experiences, which are expressed through the current executives. The executives and councillors, we can be held accountable by our membership. But staff, as we know, are employed by the organization and are accountable to the executive. So I think it's fair to make a clear distinction and let councillors decide what is proper. Thank you.
Thank you all for the comments and rebuttal. I've been getting quite a few questions regarding issues around EDI, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And I wanted to hear your thoughts on these as presidential candidates. Specifically, what will you do as president to hold Western accountable to our EDI standards, as well as to make sure that SOGS is held accountable to EDI standards? This could be with regards to race, gender, sexuality, or all the above, whichever you choose to focus on. Waliu, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, thank you. So as you know, I currently sit as the EDI co-chair with Opio, and I meet with him regularly to discuss various EDI issues. As regards race, I can see Chris has written a couple of things about his experience. And as I said earlier, I think we need to understand what diversity is. Diversity is not getting people here to conform to what we want them to conform to. Diversity is understanding that people are different and they would be different, and still accommodating them even with their differences. I've also, and this way we can actually understand what pain they have and know how to properly advocate for them. During my recent email, I got email from a couple of members stating that I said their name wrong. And for me, this is important. I told one of them, and I intend to actually look into this. If elected president, I plan to form a committee with them to ensure that Western actually addresses everybody by the name they choose. I think it is unfair if I decide I want to go by a name and Western, for some reasons, feel they do not want to address me by that name. This would keep causing issues where I send out email addressing somebody who wants to be addressed as a particular name as something else. And this can be offensive. And this might not come as my fault, but at the same time, I feel it's my responsibility to ensure that Western is held accountable so that I do not offend a fellow grad student. And this way we can better support our very diverse group of people and ensure that everybody is well accounted and supported in the way they want. We have members with accessibility, having progression challenges, sometimes having Western or professors not providing enough support, as with the case of a member whom I had been fortunate to advocate for. We just have to ensure that everybody is properly supported. There are different ways to support people. We need to listen to them and properly advocate for them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kevin, your response.
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned this earlier, but we have 6,600 students here. That's 6,600 unique experiences, all with varying levels of privileges, backgrounds, and diversity. And I also alluded to this earlier, but it's our inverted triangle of membership organizations, with membership at the top, then council, then executives. So as executives, we are the channel through which Western administration hears your voices. So in doing our work, we're always cognizant to listen first, then learn from our experiences, and then knowing when to lead when we're talking with Western University. And I promise that as president, my seat will be your seat, because I won't be talking about my own opinions. I'll be talking about the opinions of my membership. So some examples of things that we're doing. We were just recently in talks with the vice provost at the EDIDO office, Dr. Opio Alaya, about championing equity deserving scholarships for needs-based students. There are certain departments on campus that don't actually get OSAP because of their department status. So being able to identify those and then championing those students in those to empower, to bring all of us up, because when one of us is empowered, all of us is empowered. So we're continuing our efforts to advocate for students and hear their voices and bring it to Western administration. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Waliu, your rebuttal?
Yeah, thank you. So to put things in clear perspective, most international students, or all international students, at least in biology, are only open to one scholarship that we can apply to, and that is the I forgot the name, the main one where we are all allowed to apply to. So I in my meeting with Opio, Linda, unfortunately the provost was not there. I made it clear that a way for Western to actually be equitable and to actually do what they preach is to ensure that Western has an internal scholarship for international students, for members that are in the one-year program where they get no funding. This way, while domestic students can get OSAP, OGS, and a couple of others, international students should also have the opportunity to apply to scholarship that are being administered by the university to ensure that an equity base is actually formed as regards scholarship. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, your final rebuttal and comments with regard to the question?
Yeah, so like I said, that is exactly what we're advocating for, is better scholarships for students that are from equity deserving groups that need it. And we're always considering all the different groups that are at play, and ways that we can learn from them is through our commissions. We have commissions on gender equity, diversity, racial equity, pride, making sure that we're hearing from all those voices and bringing those to the necessary offices to get those scholarships in place for students that need them. There's also accessibility-based scholarships to assist students students with disabilities that are in situations where they might be in distance learning, or they might be barred out of certain buildings on campus. So it's all moving pictures and different parts.
Thank you so much. I had a question with regards to the, because I see it a lot coming up in sort of our Q&A, also our Google form. As SOGS president, you have to balance a lot of demands. You have to be able to put pressure on the university, but you also have to be able to bring them to a negotiation table to get things done. How do you, as SOGS president, plan to balance the need to put pressure on the university to get change to happen, but also maintain a fairly cordial relationship that you can actually negotiate with? Kevin, I know this is a big question, but do you wish to start us off here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a pretty good understanding of Western administration. They are very, very data-based. So when I go and I say students need this, students need that, they come back and they say, well, what's your proof? And it seems almost silly at times. But with the housing situation, I think a lot of Western administration just didn't realize how bad it was. So what we did is we went and we made that housing survey. We got over 1,500 responses. That was a ton of data, and that's what actually got them to move. So it was less of just yelling and repeating the same messages at Western administration, and it was more about calculated approaches, showing, here's what our membership does, but it's all data driven. Here's what our membership needs, it's all data driven. So I think once Western hears us in that regard, they're more likely to give us what they need, and the proof is in the pudding. I think that's exactly what happened with the housing situation, and that we said students need emergency support right now. This isn't an issue for 5 years from now. This is an issue today, and they gave us solutions. Again, it's just a start, and it's not solving the broader issue, but it is support for our student. We need an inclusive set of solutions for all of our members. Because we have so many different experiences on this campus, and we need solutions for each and every one of them.
Thank you so much. Waliu, your response?
Yeah, thank you, Michael. From my experience, I think one just has to be dynamic when dealing with Western. I learned this during my first 3 months here when I advocated for the eviction at Bayfield Hall. I remember my first meeting with Jane O'Brien and all. I was told, "Oh, this is not a PSAC issue. This is a SOGS issue." And understanding how to navigate all these things is very important. Sometimes, yes, you need to provide data. Sometimes you need to put pressure. With the Bayfield Hall, it was just pressure. It was just letting them know what they were doing was illegal. I don't need to sit as a chair of PSAC or SOGS to actually point out what they were doing wrong and advocate and ask for what is proper for grad students. As regard housing, when we spoke to them, they said, "Oh, it has to just come from SOGS. I can't speak as an individual student," and PSAC representative were beside me and they were bounded by collective agreement. What did I do? I walked up to board members. I spoke to a couple of board members, and this became an issue at the Board of Governors meeting. We encouraged members to join the Board of Governors meeting. Seeing the amount of grad students there and seeing our Board of Governors bringing this up led to a resolution saying that Western was going to support a survey. And yeah, we've been able to see results. We also had the rally, and yes, we can say it's the rally, we can say it's the survey, but after the rally, we've seen how quick the response has been. We've seen Western come out to say, "Oh yes, we're going to do a town hall to listen to you directly," and all. But aside from that, aside from all this, I've also had personal meetings with SGPS, the Vice President Academic and the Vice President EDI. While we ensure that we're putting pressure with grad students, we're also sitting at the table. So in as much as we want to get things done, we wouldn't just stay on one. We keep working with whatever works best and to the advantage of our members to ensure they get what is best. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, response?
Yeah, certainly. So I think it's just keeping it in mind when talking with Western and making sure that they know that we're advocating for all students, not for some, and we're advocating for future students as well as current students. So both long-term and short-term plans, and making sure that all of our approaches are inclusive. And then at the end of the day, it's all about listening to our membership. So as members, you can reach out to us directly or reach out to your council representatives. We're always trying to deliver your messages to Western University and keeping everything in mind as we do so, making sure everything is inclusive. That's it for me for here.
Thank you. Waliu, closing rebuttal and final comment?
Yeah. So thank you. So for me, I think it's just important we stay dynamic. Western needs us. We're grad students. We are the cheap labor that they always want to fall back to, and we need to understand that there might not be a collective agreement, but Western needs to speak to us because we are not just a pushover that Western needs to sign an agreement with to actually sit at the table with us. And this is a leverage we have, and this is a leverage we need to use. So I've seen this. I remember my meeting with Linda. She said she never heard from either SOGS or from the university about the Bayfield eviction, and that she's happy I took it up and I got something done. And this is something we just have to do. As I've been able to do all this by not being a member of SOGS. I've been able to, by not being an executive with SOGS. I've been able to do all this despite the rebuttal I get that this has to come from SOGS. So we just have to keep putting pressure sometimes and also giving them database analysis. All in all, we just need to focus on what our members want and keep being the voice for them rather than speaking for Western.
Thank you, Waliu. I wanted to touch back to one of the questions that I had asked at the beginning of this debate, but I know there might be lots of new people coming in who would appreciate hearing a similar response or a similar question. Many grad students are, of course, aware of the money that which Western University accumulates year over year. They're also very painfully aware of the amount that gets invested into many different parts of university administration, facilities, etc. Do you view this accumulation and investment as concerns as a SOGS president? And do you view this as perhaps a strategy or a wedge issue that could be used to perhaps increase funding for graduate students? Sorry, it's a big question, but I'm more than happy to repeat myself if you so need. Waliu, we will begin with you.
Yeah, thank you. While I think it's important to have infrastructure, I think funding is equally as important. Buildings don't do research. Equipment don't do research. You need human beings to actually do these things. And this was why I was not happy when Western just decided to claim they were going to increase funding, because as said by Kevin earlier, this has not been gotten yet, to increase our emergency funding. If Western had said, oh, we're going to increase grad student funding by $500 pending the time that we actually sit with you and think of something better, I think that would be nice. I would have applauded them that, oh yes, Western is actually forward thinking and thinking about its members, especially for an academic institution that should actually drive change, being so resistant to change, especially when it comes to funding. And as you have rightly said, we've seen salaries, we've seen investments that is happening with Western. And sometimes if a university decides to do this and ignore its grad students who are the backbone, I think you just have to call them out. Call them out to what they are doing and let them know what they are doing is wrong. And I'll tell you this personally, we met with the provost. She said, when we told her the issues or the challenges we're having, she looked us dead in the eye and said, oh, well, if your funding is small, you will have the TA ship to actually make more money. I was surprised that the provost is now aware that the TA funding is actually part, the TA salary is actually part of the funding package. So we were shocked, and I remember Karuna, who is the president of PSCC 610, approaching Kevin about this, and Kevin, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Kevin said, oh, yeah, sometimes they don't attend meeting, and we don't want to sour relationship. And you don't have to sour relationship to advocate for something. You just have to keep speaking about it and ensure that you are heard. And we know these people are resistant to change. So you don't stop and you use other means necessary to ensure that you advocate for your members. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, your response to the initial question posed?
Sure. I just want to very quickly address that last point. It's not about souring our relationship because we go into those meetings and we know that the information is confidential. So we definitely don't want to be disclosing anything about those meetings that we don't already know. And like I said, we don't have a collective agreement that demands that we speak with Western administration. So if they don't want to meet with us anymore, then they just simply won't. So we definitely don't want to be in that situation because we can't be locked out. In terms of the bigger funding question, yes, this is a broader issue. It's not specific to Western, but we want Western to be that leader that changes how we look at graduate student funding. And yes, it is concerning when you see Western putting money into certain places because we know that they're prioritizing the road to 50,000 students right now. So they're putting more money into that without considering the ripple effects that that will have on graduate students. But we also want to look specifically at how they allocate the money for graduate students. Some departments have really, really good funding packages in comparison to others, and we just don't think that that's fair. So certain funding packages in the arts and humanities or FIMS are much lower than they need to be because the deans get to control where money goes, and the deans that make more money from their graduate students will give more money back, which is just really inappropriate since we're all here doing the same thing. We're here getting PhDs, we're getting our degrees. We should be treated equitably across departments. There shouldn't be this inequality between, science students getting so much versus arts students getting less. So it's all about looking at the small picture with departments and this and that, but versus the larger picture of provincial legislature that demands a certain tuition fees from universities. So it is an issue on all fronts, but thank you for the time.
Thank you. Waliu, your rebuttal?
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to correct this notion that because we don't have a collective agreement with the university, they wouldn't sit down with us. We all know Western values its image. Imagine 1,000 graduate students doing a workout. That is something Western does not want to see. And that is something we can leverage on. So this statement that we don't have a collective agreement and they wouldn't sit with us is something I want to make clear that we are very strong in Western. Western would respect whatever we say. And that is why we have SOGS. SOGS is there to ensure that Western keeps listening to us. Aside from that, for me, this is also an avenue for us to help the GSA GRA drive. I recently met a student from music who the offer letter was not clear to and discovered she had just 9,000 to survive for the year. I met with her SGPS and a faculty, and out of nowhere, $2,000 Dean scholarship just came to her. And while I understand this was done for one person, we need to ensure that this is done across board. Nobody can meet with SGPS 1,000 times. So this is why I'm thinking we should do this across board.
Sorry, Waliu, we've cut you off, but thank you for the rebuttal. Kevin, would you be willing to offer your rebuttal and final remark?
Yeah, so I just want to talk about how serious the relationship we have with Western administration. We were just meeting with our counterparts at MAC, and they actually have been locked out by the university. They're no longer meeting with Western admin, and that is something that we really, really don't want for our society. So I need to really reiterate how important it is SOGS has a seat at that table, because it took us years to get a seat. It took us years to get standing meetings with the higher powers at Western University, and we need to maintain those. And it's not just something we're theorizing, it's something that we're seeing at other schools. Other schools are having similar issues as us, and we want to learn from them to be able to make sure that we know how to best support our membership, because if we lose those seats, our membership suffers. Again, my seat is your seat. I will say what you need me to say in those meetings, but it will be your voices that are heard.
Thank you, Kevin. I want to touch on more of your individual roles outside of your position currently as SOGS presidential candidates. What roles have you played for graduate student advocacy in the past? And which ones are you most proud of, or that you think were most significant? This could do with graduate housing, this could do with graduate poverty, or gender equity, racial equity, diversity, whatever you think is most important and most relevant to your experiences as a grad student and a member of SOGS. Kevin, would you like to start us off?
Sure, let's go backwards. So before I was VP, I was peer advisor, and at which I had lots of experience with students from all walks of life. Students who were having issues with housing, having issues with affordability, but also having issues with advocacy. But I've already mostly talked about the peer advisor role so far. So I can go even further back. Last year, before I was on a peer advisor, I was on my graduate student association within the Department of Medical Biophysics, where we held social events for our members, but we also liaised with SOGS to bring the individual voices from our department through council and through to the SOGS executive. So I've always been a champion of making sure that people are heard. And if we want to go further back, I was on the student emergency response team. So I was always giving my services to students to make sure that they were safe on campus. And if we go even further back than that, I was on Foot Patrol. So Foot Patrol is the service where we will walk students home late at night who otherwise might feel unsafe. So it's always been about advocating, but also making a safer campus for students. I've always had such a strong sense of community and so much love for all graduate students that I share this space with. So I've always been trying to, in my university career, give back to that membership and, just making a better space, increasing quality of life, just doing my part to help graduate students that I share a space with. Yeah.
Waliu, your rebuttal to this at all?
Yeah, thank you. Well, while I've done a couple of things, Bayfield or Michael, which you were also very involved in because you were affected, housing, getting board members to speak about it at the Board of Governors, finance, speaking about it continuously with SGPS and the Vice President Academic, accessibility, ensuring that the student that was almost kicked out was not kicked out because he could not express himself, EDI, speaking with OPA a couple of times, and ensuring that things are properly done and bringing my view as an international Black Muslim student and showing the challenges that I have personally and also of various community. I've also advocated for more funding as my role as the chair of, as the racial equity chair in PSAC for our members having challenges. I've spoken about this, and I'm happy that the executive also have agreed, and this is coming up during the next steward meeting for approval and the AGM for approval also. I've also spoken with SOGS about health and dental from what I've heard from most international students, and I've personally supported a couple of people to settle down and help them as much as I can. Honestly, while all these are things to be proud of, I'm not very happy because most people are still having financial challenges. I recently met someone that had to travel back to his home country because he could not afford to live in London. So while these are nice, looks good, I think until every member, until the 6,000 plus members that are members of SOGS can post that they have a livable income or a livable stipend from Western, I think there's nothing to be proud of, honestly. While I've done all this, that would be my proudest moment. The day we can all come out and say Western is paying us a livable wage. And that is what I look forward to, and that is what I plan to work towards. Thank you.
Thank you, Waliu and Kevin, for all of your responses and rebuttals thus far. It's been a great conversation. I've wanted to actually somewhat transition the topic to a more specific one that's come up in a few of the questions that I've been surveying. Gender-based violence is obviously a very serious issue on university campuses, and it's been one that SOGS has tried to tackle in the past, as well as Western. as a SOGS president, what will you be doing to continue SOGS work and also to hold Western accountable for its handling of gender-based violence on campus? To give some more specifics, MyMap Experience is a anonymous reporting tool used by survivors of gender-based violence to hold institutions and people accountable. It was an initiative by Safe Cities London, and it's led by Nova. And for months, they have been trying to get Western to adopt the tool. Progress has been slow, but Fanshawe, another London institution, has already adopted it. So what measures do you see as president to hold Western accountable for issues of gender-based violence in your position as SOGS president? This is a big question. Kevin, would you like to start us off? I can repeat any aspect of this if you so wish.
Yeah, sure. It is a big question, and there's a lot of moving parts. So, like I said, last summer, Western came out with their GBSV report with certain commitments to tackling GBSV on campus. So the president currently sits on the GBSV task force and reports directly to the provost. Recently, last fall, the SOGS executive was involved in the Map My Experience as we championed it with student experience, making sure that it was safe, making sure that it wasn't handling its data improperly, because it is a data collection service that's just really scary for us to make sure that everything is correct when it rolls out. We're also looking at a potential launch of a legal care program through SOGS that's kind of running in tandem with our healthcare service. This legal program will be available for students who are victims of GBSV and can get through their insurance proper representation for legal representation for them, so that they're not paying out of their own pocket, and then they can properly tackle those issues. That's something that I'd like to get through in my presidency, because we have survivors and we have to have a voice backed by legal infrastructure. It's not just about advocacy at this point. It becomes a very serious legal issue. So as long as we know that we're getting students that support, that is one small thing we can do to make Western a more safe space for all of our students, and any student that might have been a victim of gender-based sexual violence in the past, or is worried about it in the future. This is something that we have in the pipeline for you.
Thank you, Kevin. Waliu, your response to the question?
Yeah, thank you very much. I remember reading about the gender-based violence while I was still in Germany, and I was very surprised because I just recently accepted my offer to study at Western, and I was very shocked. And yeah, as a person, I felt, okay, if this is happening, this could happen to anybody. So one of the first steps is to ensure that Western is actually held accountable. And we will do that by continuously dialoguing with them, letting them understand that these are challenges that wouldn't go away by being quiet. We would also provide resource from SOGS by providing a full support, including legal, therapy, and every other necessary support system needed. And another thing is going to be solving some of this problem from the root cause, or taking a preventive approach. One of them has been housing. We've had people come here and are frustrated and just get housing with whoever they see, and this leads to something else. So some of these things have to be controlled by ensuring that, for example, the pair program will pair women with women, and both of them would consent to actually staying together, to ensure that there's no issue, no challenge, and there's going to be a contract signed to ensure that there's no gender-based violence or any violence at all, and there's going to be a proper support system. We would also ensure that this is incentivized by SGPS, even if it is just going to be a $100 voucher, just to show these members that what they are doing is not just free. We appreciate it, but at the same time, we thank them by giving them something in return. And while 2 days, 3 days might look very small to some of us, as an international student or as somebody coming from outside in need of support, this is actually big for us. But majorly, I think Western has to adopt this policy, and we have to do everything in our power as SOGS, not just as SOGS president, but as SOGS membership and member of the Western community, to ensure that Western actually adopts this policy and ensure that everybody is safe on campus, irrespective of their gender, religion, sex, or race. Thank you.
Thank you, Waliu. Kevin, it's open for rebuttal. Would you wish to begin?
Sure. Nothing really in terms of rebuttal. Just reminder that it's not always just about money to solve these issues. It's a really, really big issue, and we need multiple different ways to tackle it and consider different lenses. We know that gender-based sexual violence is disproportionately experienced by racialized, indigenous, or trans people, members of the LGBTQ plus community. So it's assuming that every domestic student is safe. It's just not the case. Every international student is safe. It's just not the case. There's going to be a lot of different moving parts when considering gender-based sexual violence. So we need to continuously redirect our focus and make sure that we're looking at this in an equitable way.
Thanks, Kevin. Waliu, final rebuttal or a closing remark?
Yeah, so for me, it's Western, we not just Western, the whole community, the Society of Graduate Students, Western, we just have to listen, learn from what we've heard, and also be proactive, find ways to prevent this as much as possible. I know it is impossible to prevent all cases, and that is why we have to listen, be dynamic, keep changing, keep doing everything possible to ensure that gender-based violence doesn't just happen. I think it's very unfortunate, and I felt sad when I read about what happened 2 years ago. And yeah, it has stayed with me because I understand that if my friend, my sister, or somebody personal had also experienced that, I would still feel as terrible as I felt that day. So it's something I don't want for anybody. And I would work continuously and as hard as possible to ensure that that never happens again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're actually wrapping up. We've had a lot of great questions from our membership. So I want to thank again all of the members who showed up and attended and participated in this debate. You're the reason why all this stuff gets to happen, and your involvement in this process means everything. I have a few closing remarks that I would like to make at the end of everything, but first I would actually like to provide the candidates.
Mike here.
So sorry, yes?
Yes, can I make a suggestion, an opinion? Can I share an opinion?
Sorry, we are under a very tight schedule and we need to wrap up.
Okay.
We're already over our time.
Okay, that's okay, no problem. I can meet the two of them or send an email to them.
Excellent. I definitely encourage members to get in touch with either of the candidates if you have any further questions. You can find their platform on the SOGS election website, as well as their contact information and social media pages. All of that, their emails are listed. So by all means, feel free to get in touch with them. I actually wanted to allow the candidates 2 minutes for closing remarks after this Q&A/debate. Waliu, would you be willing to offer your closing remark?
Yeah, thank you. First, I want to thank everybody for coming. I think it's important to all participate in things like this, because whoever we elect is going to represent us, and it's important to hear from both sides. I think Kevin has spoken fantastically well, and I appreciate you for being here, Kevin, and also being a fellow contestant. I think it's important that we all know that this election is for the betterment of all grad students. Some of us are disgruntled, some of us are unhappy with the advocacies in the past, some of us have various complaints, and I believe Kevin and myself will keep working on listening and improving our leadership and representative skills, and to also ensure that all graduate students are better advocated for and get adequate support, and also that the Western leadership, even though different ideas, would be held accountable. Thank you.
Thank you for the closing remarks, Waliu. Kevin, any closing remarks?
Yeah, absolutely. I also want to thank everyone here. Thank you, Michael, for the questions. You do such great work. Everyone who stayed to listen, that's amazing. And Waliu, thank you so much for pushing me and, being an active voice, because, we need more people like you to voice their concerns at campus. To close it out, I don't really feel I need to talk about my campaign anymore. I think everyone knows about my campaign. All my stuff is online. I've been thinking a lot recently about why I actually want to be president. This job is really hard. It's been really hard for the last 2 years. There are days where I work 14 hours and I'm dealing with research and SOG stuff. And I get, complaints saying that I'm not doing enough, calling me awful things. And in those moments, I really wonder why I want to be president. And I think my friends and family also wonder why. But the answer is always you guys. It's knowing that I'm making a difference, and it's knowing that I'm helping someone in my community. So I just want everyone to know that I only have one promise for my campaign. I'm not a politician. I'm not going to sit here and make promises. I'm not going to say that the world's going to be every issue is going to be solved after 1 year of me being president. I'm only going to make one promise, and that's I'm going to do my best for all of you. Yeah, that's my only promise, is I'll give you my all. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin, for the closing remarks. Again, I want to thank both of our candidates, Kevin Moore and Waliu Alaka, for coming out here, taking time out of their day, and for going dinner, I think, for maybe a couple of hours, for offering your answers to many of our members' questions here today. And again, I want to thank all the members for coming out and offering such wonderful and poignant and pressing questions. Nick has actually posted in the Discord chat the link to our SOGS election page, so you can find the candidate social media pages and contact information all provided there. I would also like to remind the membership that's currently here that the balloting for this election opens on March the 9th. So March 9th is our election day. All the voting and balloting is all handled online, so you don't have to come to campus to vote on a slip of piece of paper in person. It's as easy as can be. So I strongly encourage all the members here, as well as strongly encourage our members to encourage other members to vote in this election. I think both candidates did an excellent job of demonstrating the need for democracy in SOGS. And I am also a very strong advocate for it as CRO. So I hope to see an excellent turnout for this year. Once again, thank you all for coming, and thank you to our candidates for presenting. I hope you all have an excellent night.